U.S. economy slowed more than expected at end of 2025. A fresh reading of GDP arrived amid elevated inflation and sluggish hiring. The U.S. economy slowed more than expected over the final months of 2025, federal government data on Friday showed. The economy grew at an annualized rate of 1.4 in the fourth quarter in the government's initial estimate, marking a cooldown from blistering-hot 4.4 growth recorded in the previous quarter. The slowdown at the end of last year stemmed in part from a decline in the pace of consumer spending, the U.S. Commerce Department said. The GDP report marks the latest distress signal for U.S. shoppers, who account for about two-thirds of the nation's economic activity. Retail sales data last week showed flat performance in December, suggesting possible weakness for shoppers during the holiday season. Meanwhile, credit card debt levels have climbed and consumer sentiment has remained glum. The fresh reading of gross domestic product on Friday provided a key measure of the country's economic health as policymakers continued to grapple with an ongoing bout of elevated inflation and sluggish hiring. Inflation cooled in January, dropping price increases to their lowest level in 9 months. While the pullback defied fears of a tariff-induced rise in overall costs, inflation continued to hover above the Federal Reserve's target rate of 2%. Meanwhile, a recent jobs report showed stronger-than-expected hiring in January, even though an updated estimate released at the same time indicated a near-paralysis of the labor market last year. A boost in consumer spending helped propel the surge in GDP over 3 months ending in September, the U.S. Commerce Department previously said. Over the past year, hiring has slowed dramatically while inflation has remained elevated, risking an economic double whammy known as stagflation. Those conditions have put the Federal Reserve in a difficult position. The central bank must balance a dual mandate to keep inflation under control and maximize employment. To address pressure on both of its goals, the Fed primarily holds a single tool: interest rates. The strain on both sides of the Fed's mandate presents a challenging situation for the central bank, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said in December. The Fed held interest rates steady at its most recent meeting in January, ending a string of 3 consecutive quarter-point rate cuts. Futures markets expect 2 quarter-point interest rate cuts this year, forecasting the first in June and a second in the fall, according to the CME FedWatch Tool, a measure of market sentiment. You have reached the end of our in-depth report. For more deep dives into global affairs and breaking news updates, please subscribe to Neuron News Global and enable all notifications. Stay informed, stay ahead. See you in the next broadcast.